Okay, here we go. Hi guys, welcome. Sorry for that little blip in my sharing abilities. Melissa just made a funny comment about playing my new song. I just did a reel. She made fun of me because I clearly did not know where the song came from. If you need to understand, go listen to it. I think it's hilarious and I think it's an awesome song. So whatever, I'm just going to go with it. Clearly, I never sold rock, clearly, but it's a fun little note to self. Listen to the song in full and understand where it comes from before doing a reel. Okay, let me see here. You should be able to see the audience window. Do you see that? Can you give me a thumbs up if you see it? Awesome. Okay, got it. All right. Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about vision. So it is something that is never something that I actually ever thought that I would love. I never did it before I started coaching and leading other women. I actually thought it was super hokey and I didn't buy into it at all. And I was the kind of person that I was like, I don't need that, like I'm fine. I thought like vision and like visualization and journaling and personal development and all that kind of stuff were for like people who needed therapy, which I did, which is hilarious. But I just feel like sometimes we're super closed off at the idea, and if we allow ourselves to just open up a little bit, it can completely change our life. And that's what it did for me. So tonight we are going to be talking about vision, and I'm going to ask you for some participation. I'm going to ask you to just allow yourself to go all in, whether or not you're in one of our communities, whether or not you are on our team, whether or not you do workouts with us, nutrition with us, or actually build a business with us. What you put into tonight's call is going to change what you get out of it. So I want you to give yourself the permission tonight to just go all in, even if you feel super uncomfortable and even if it feels not at all something that you normally do. We're going to talk about the power that actually putting on paper what our vision is for not just this year, but for our life in general, and the power that that has in what you attract in your life. Because what I found is what you think about, what you surround yourself by, what you say to yourself, it comes into your life, right? So the more you can focus on what you want to have happen and less focus on what you don't want to have happen, the more of that's going to come in your life. And we're going to go through a vision exercise tonight. I'm going to walk you through how to even start thinking about those things. I'm going to give you some clues and some cues as to what are some questions and what are some things you should have on your board. And at the end of the call, I'm going to walk you through very quickly how I build mine. I use Canva, but you can use any platform that you feel comfortable with. So give yourself permission tonight to just to go with it. Okay, so the first thing that I really try to help women with is figuring out what their why is. And this isn't just in business. This is regardless if you have a business, in your career, in your family, your why can be across the board, right? Especially when you're coming in and you're starting your own wellness journey, trying to figure out how to find your time for yourself, prioritize yourself for your own needs over everybody else's needs in your life. Your why is a huge part of that. And maybe you haven't taken the time to do a vision board, or maybe it's not even something that you thought that you wanted to do. That's okay. What you do with it tonight, like your experiences, your past experiences don't have to dictate your future experiences, right? So if this is something that you feel like, all right, I've kind of just been winging my wellness, I've been winging my fitness journey, I've been winging my career or my business, this is the time to go all in. And what I've learned is that having that vision, allowing yourself to really dream and to think about big picture, like what do you want? Like, what do you want in your life? And what do you want more of? What do you want less of? It's like a roadmap, right? And without that roadmap, it's really hard to stay consistent when life happens and when things get in the way. And that can be for your personal journey, it can be for your relationships, and it can be for business, regardless of which way that you're looking at it for tonight. Without that vision, it's hard to stay like steadfast on what it is that you're working for, right? If you have a stressful week when everybody's sick and you haven't been able to move your body in a week, or planned your meals for a week, or even done any personal development, if you don't have that reason, it's going to be hard to like bring yourself back to that kind of equilibrium, right? So having that vision, having an idea of where you're going helps you be intentional with your time. It helps you be intentional about the behaviors that you do and the things that you do in your life to create what it is that you want to have happen. And if you don't have that solid why kind of mapped out or a solid vision, then it's hard to keep that consistency. For me, my why is like my anchor, right? Like anytime I get kind of derailed, whether it is with work or with Nora or with whatever, I come back to why I'm doing this for myself and why I'm here. And that helps me kind of recalibrate or refocus. Okay. So how many, and this is where I want you to use the chat feature. I want you to type in there, be active in there. And the nice thing about that is then you see that you're not alone, right? And feeling that way you're feeling. And so I want you to use that chat feature tonight so we can all kind of just hold space for each other. But how many of you have sat down and actually fleshed out your why, like your intentions for your life, your family, your business, yourself, like that kind of why that makes you feel emotional? You can either show of hands or you can type in the chat like, yes, I have, no, I haven't, I want to, haven't had time, don't know where to start. Like, let us know where you're at. And this can be like a why for your career, it can be for your relationships, it can be for your business, for your family, all those things. And if you haven't, it's okay. That's why we're here tonight, right? I encourage you to start, and that's what we're going to focus on. But your reason for showing up for whatever it is that you're working for, whether it's, you know, your mental health or your emotional health or your physical health, it should make you feel emotional, right? And if it doesn't, then you need to go deeper, because you need to connect with it on an emotional level for it to be motivating enough to keep you going, even when shit gets heavy and shit gets hard, right? And sometimes your why is going to change. It did for me. It's changed almost every year since I've started coaching and really starting pouring into myself. And that's okay. It should. As you grow, your why and your reasons for showing up should grow with you. They should change with you. Okay, so what are some things that should be on your vision board? Here are some like tangible things to think about when after this call and after we've done our exercise to walk you through what it is that you want. These are some tangible things to think about as to what you want to put on your vision board. And once you've created it, I recommend that you print it. I have mine as my home screen on my computer. I print a copy and I open it up every morning with my morning routine. I review it, I look at the pictures, I use it to help me manifest and to think about and to visualize what it is that I want. So they can be business goals, it can be financial goals, it can be health and wellness goals, what you want for your relationships, your family goals or experiences that you want to have with your family, your marriage, your spirituality, your connection to, or your connection, your contribution to your community, your own personal growth, whatever it is that you want to bring more about and how you want to feel, all those things should be on your vision board. And I'm going to show you how mine's progressed over the last 4 years. It's pretty cool to watch. And a lot of them has come, like a lot of the things that I've had on my vision boards over the last 4 years have actually come into fruition. One of the biggest keys to remember, and write this down with your screenshot this or write this down, but what you put on your board shouldn't be a negative, right? So I know there's a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like drive to say, I don't want to feel X, I don't want to feel Y. But when you use the negative in something that you're visualizing all the time, even if it's attached to something positive, you're going to be bringing about negative things, right? So instead, write out a phrase or a word or of something you experiencing that thing already happening, right? Write it out as if it's currently happening, because then that you're gonna be talking about that and visualizing that and saying those things to yourself as if they're happening here and now, which is just going to bring more of that into your life. Does that make sense? Do you guys see the difference? Like instead of saying like, I don't want to feel tired, rather than saying, I feel energized and ready to take my day on, right? It just gives you a different feeling when you're reading those things, right? It instills different emotion. Okay, so think about, I know sometimes thinking like a long-term vision can feel a little bit overwhelming. So I like to break it down into like 6-month blocks. Like you can break it down into like a big yearly goal, but then also making sure that you're taking smaller steps in there and writing out some more tangible goals that are within the next 6 months. And I don't want you to build your vision off of what has happened in the past, right? Like a lot of us will say, well, I mean, I would love to get a new car, but I mean, I've been saying that for 4 years, so I'm not going to put that on my vision board, right? You're limiting yourself based on past experiences. So I don't want you to hold yourself back from that. I want you to just write out, when we do our exercise, write out exactly what you want, right? And we're going to do that in the activity, but you got to be specific. So what's your ideal outcome for whatever it is that you're manifesting or that you're visualizing, right? Are you putting limits on what you think you can achieve based on what has happened in the past? What do you want for your family, for your career, for your relationships, for your business? How do you want to feel? What do you want to create more of in your life? And then at the end, when we do the exercise, you're going to have a paragraph or more written out of exactly what it is that you want. And so what I recommend doing is use that to help create your board, but then also keep that paragraph, right? I'm going to be adding a PDF guide to help you kind of dive a little bit further into vision after this call. I'll post it in the event. And there's a spot in there that you can write out your paragraph or your vision. I recommend keeping that with you for your morning routine and revisit it every day so that you can read it over and it just becomes part of what you say to yourself every single morning. And it sets your intention, kind of like the lighthouse, like you're putting on the light in the lighthouse every single day. Okay. And so sometimes you might think like, when I first started writing my why and like really figuring out what my vision was, it was very surface level, right? Like I had a really hard time digging deeper into what I really wanted and why it mattered. So when you write out your paragraph or when you write out your goals, something to keep asking yourself is, why does that matter? Why does that matter? Why does that matter? Because that's going to help you dig deeper and deeper and deeper. And you should keep going. You should keep asking yourself, why does that matter? Until you get an emotional response, right? Until you feel like emotional about something. So for example, like for me, when I first started, and Lindsay did this to me with me, my coach, when I first started, and she asked me like, why are you doing this? And for a long time, it was, well, because I just need to, like, I need to do something for myself and I need to keep myself accountable to what I want. But the more she kept asking me and more she kept forcing me to go deeper, yes, I wanted to feel better. And yes, I needed more accountability. And yes, I needed to reclaim my physical and emotional health. And yes, I needed to eat better and drink more water and feel better. But at the root of what made me choose to prioritize myself was because I didn't want Nora to grow up in a house that I grew up in as a child, right? Like I didn't want her to experience the relationship that I experienced with my body, with nutrition, with fitness. And that, changing that, ending that cycle, fixing that relationship with myself and those things, if that meant that she wouldn't have to experience that, that was enough for me to be like, all right, I'm tired. Yes, I don't want to read that book, or yes, I don't want to do this personal growth, or yes, I don't want to do that therapy, but I'm gonna, because that's my gift to her, right? So if I didn't continuously ask those questions of myself, I wouldn't have been able to get that deep. And my why probably wouldn't have been so driving for me, right? So allow yourself to do that and don't expect yourself to be able to do it all on tonight's call, but use the workbook that you're going to get and dive deeper. Take the time to dive deeper because it will help your journey, regardless if you're in a business coaching journey or if you're doing it for your wellness and your nutrition or for your relationships. It's going to help you in all those areas. Okay, well, here, I just didn't, I forgot I had an example in here. So my example, right, was that I wanted to help people and I needed that accountability. And when I first started my journey, I cared way too much about what people thought of me. It dictated a lot of my behavior. I used to abandoned my own needs to meet other people's needs, right? So for example, if I was really tired, but like a friend of mine called and they were in crisis, I would would drop everything all the time and go do what I could for them. And part of me would still do that now, but I also will take a second to be like, can I do that tonight? Like, do I have the bandwidth emotionally to be able to do that tonight? Whereas I never would have asked that question before, right? But like that decision was keeping me small, right? Like it wasn't truly allowing me to like break open and open up myself to my full potential. And it wasn't until I asked those questions of myself and really dug deeper that I figured out like, man, I never felt like I had a voice ever. I grew up, I was never allowed to have an opinion. I wasn't allowed to push boundaries or anything. And I lost my voice for a long time. And growing up that way also brought me into a relationship with a man who was very abusive and very emotionally and physically abusive. And I lost my voice even more. And so when I started doing this and really unraveling all those layers and really doing the work on myself, it wasn't just about fitness and nutrition anymore. It was really trying to find myself again and find my voice and share who I was and not give a shit about what people thought of me anymore. That care more about what I thought of me. And now I get to help other women do the same thing. And that makes me emotional. And I never would have gotten there if I didn't just start peeling those onions back, right? I'm going off on total tangents tonight, so I hope that makes sense to you guys, but it's just, you just got to connect with it. You got to connect with it on an emotional level. Whatever it is that you want for your vision, it's really easy to let fear step in, right? Like that fear gremlin is really, really strong. And it's that voice in our head that either tells us we can't do that, that's unrealistic, that's too lofty, we don't have time, we don't have energy, we don't have money, blah, blah, blah. It's just your fear gremlin, right? Like it's just, I figured who it was who said it, that fear, that's false evidence appearing real. Was that Trent Shelton? I feel like it was Trent Shelton. Yeah, man, that guy's good. If you don't listen to his podcast, you need to, he's amazing. But it's so true, right? It's like this false evidence that we tell ourselves that just feels true, but it's not true. It's just what we've been telling ourselves for so many years. And that's what we believe now because we're saying it over and over again. We become a product of what we say to ourselves day in and day out. So if you really want change in whatever area of life you want to focus on, whether it's your business, your journey, your relationships, you have to start changing the narrative of what you say to yourself, right? How you speak to yourself, who you surround yourself by, what you consume, not just in your body, but in your mind too. All of that impacts what you do and how you feel and how you talk to yourself. And that's what really you have to just start shutting up that fear gremlin when you start to go down this journey. And of course, give yourself grace. It's not going to happen overnight. But whatever it is that you want, it's normal for your brain to be like, no, I can't do that. No, I can't do that. But do it anyway, right? Do it anyway. Get uncomfortable anyway, because it's in that discomfort. It's in that like, ooh, that feels icky to put myself out there or to show up on Zoom and work out with a bunch of women for an extra accountability or be in a community with women that I don't even know. All that can feel uncomfortable and icky at the very beginning, but it becomes exactly what you need if you let it, right? So do the work on yourself. And eventually, like, it's really about belief, and it's hard to believe in ourselves and our abilities. We're trained, especially as women, to like forego our knowing and forego our inner voice and what we like, our gut feelings. And what I didn't expect when I first started this was like how much my belief in myself would change, right? And I ask you this question, like, what are you doing to work out your belief muscle, right? Because we work out our physical muscles all the time, but what are you doing on your mindset muscle, on your belief muscle, on your self-love muscle? Like all those things take time and take focus and take energy the same way that you're doing your workouts in the morning, right? It's still a muscle that you have to build. So what does your personal development look like? Are you doing any? Right? And I know it's not everybody thinks that they need it, and not everybody thinks that they want it, or that it, it serves them. But it's in those moments where you're discomfort that you crack yourself open and you start growing, right? So, and it's okay to borrow belief from other people. I know we all did, especially when you start a business, you borrow belief from other people until you do the work on yourself enough to believe in who you are and what you have to offer. Okay, So we're going to get ramped up. We're going to get ready to do this exercise. I want you, before we go into this exercise, I want you to give yourself the permission to dream, like to really dream, right? Like, are you focusing on fear or anxiety or doubt? If that's what you're focusing on, that's what you're going to manifest, right? What you put out is what you're going to attract back in your life. And it's the same thing with any aspect of your life, whether it's personal, like your personal journey or your relationships or your business growth, whatever. So it's okay if it gets emotional tonight, but your end goal, I want you to have this beautiful picture, this like roadmap of where you want your life to go, and then what it should look like. And then you can use that vision every morning as a part of your morning routine. And you can use that to fuel how you build your vision board. Okay. So once we're done this part of the call where we do our exercise and really walk through some of that and, you know, our PD and stuff, then I'm going to unshare my screen, or I'm not going to unshare my screen. That's a lie, Natasha. I'm going to stop recording, and then we're actually going to play around with Canva. So feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions about Canva, ask questions about how you do it. And we're going to go through that together tonight. Okay. All right, here we go. So I'm going to play some music. Have your paper ready. Let me get my music ready here. Okay. Are you ready? Thumbs up, everybody's ready? Okay. All right, so before you write it out, I want you to close your eyes. And I can see all of you close your eyes. Okay, take a deep breath. Have you ever thought about what the best version of you looks like? And I want you to feel that. I want you to connect with what that best version of you looks like. Imagine that you're a year, 2 years, 5 years in the future, and you're living as the very best version of yourself. You're thriving, you're feeling fulfilled. I want you to dream what that looks like and allow yourself to go there. Don't put any restrictions on yourself. Don't overthink it. Just allow yourself to envision what the most magnificent possible future version of you looks like. A decade into the future, what is that version of you doing? What does she look like? How does she feel in her own skin? What is she wearing? How do you go about your day? How do you speak to the ones you love in your life? And how are you loved back? What kind of clothes do you wear? What kind of car do you drive? Do you love to run or hike? I want you to get as specific as you can. I want you to visualize it. Where do you go on vacation? What's your favorite restaurant to eat at now that you have stepped into this version of you that you're meant to be? What kind of food do you consume? What does it feel like to go through your day? What do you smell around you? Who are you surrounded by? How does it feel to be surrounded by those people? What do you hear? What does your community or team look like? Who do you link arms with? Who are you surrounded by? Are you an optimist? Are you lifting others up? Are you giving permission to other women to show up bravely and claim what they want? How much joy is in your life? And who is in your life? I want you to go there and give your permission to go there. What does your week look like? What are you doing? How are you spending your time? How do you treat people? And how do people treat you? What do you feel when you get up in the morning and when you go to bed at night? I want you to really feel it and really connect with it. Are you happy? Are you fulfilled? Is your soul smiling? Are you driven? Are you energetic? Are you excited to wake up in the morning? Do you own a home? And if so, where is it? What do you see when you look out the window? What do you smell when you step outside? And I want you to allow yourself to go even bigger. What are you doing? What are you doing there? How does it feel to be there? How do you show up every day? How do you go about your life every day? I want you to be there. How does it feel? I want you to hold on to it and play it in your mind like a movie. How does it feel? How does that best version of you show up in your life? What does it feel like to be in her body, in her mind? How does she talk to herself? And how does she talk to other people? Is she holding herself back or is she going after exactly what she wants? I want you to hold on to it. I want you to open up your eyes and I want you to write down as much as you can remember. Okay, I'm gonna play some music. Okay, about 30 more seconds. Okay. All right. Show of hands. Who got emotional? Yeah, I know but that's good, right? That's good. And even if you didn't get emotional, that's okay. I encourage you to do it again, right? Sometimes it can feel very vulnerable, especially being on like a video chat like this. Sometimes it can be very vulnerable, but you're going to get a PDF guide after this. So just do it again. Do it again. Okay. Let's see, what do I have next here? Yeah, so I mean, obviously sometimes it can feel overwhelming. You have, oh my God, I have this big vision. Break it down, right? Reverse engineer where your goals are going to be. And if you need help with that, reach out, we can help you, but just take one step at a time. And that's where your vision board is going to really come in handy. Okay. So the other thing I like to talk about too is making sure that you're looking at your roadblocks, because if you can anticipate what those roadblocks are going to be to where you want to go and how you want to feel, anticipating those roadblocks will help you kind of be like, yeah, I've already figured that out. I can overcome that today, right? And maybe that's your job or your work or your lack of sleeping every day. Whatever it is, figure out what your roadblock is, because that's going to help you overcome it. Okay. Okay, so now how do we make a vision board? Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to stop share right now. If you are watching the recording of this, go log into Canva and play around with Canva. There is lots of free options to Canva. I just heard a little big collapse upstairs. I feel like nobody's crying, no one's yelling, so I think it's fine. I may go upstairs and Richard might be on the ground, but it's fine. Go play around with Canva. It's fun. It can be a lot at the beginning, but I find it's my favorite place to create. And even if you don't have a paid version, there's lots of free options on there. Okay, so let me stop